The pirates. The day was cool despite the warm season. Ambassador Luxid's small estate is a patch of luxury and peace. It's fairly far away from the cities and in a part of the countryside that just hasn't been developed otherwise. Her description was modest, homey, and rustic, but it's a palatial building with everything someone could ask for. Just goes to show how much wealth there's to be had in a galactic-scale society. "So, why did you tell me not to take a shower?" Miles asks Agenda, who grins. "Oh, we spoke about things a bit. Don't you worry," she assures him. "Look, I understand that my sweat smells like I've been dunked in cologne or something, but I've been trying not to smear grime on the inside of this car," Miles remarks as he holds up his slightly oil-smeared hands. "Well, that's what you get when you insist on getting your hands dirty," Agenda remarks. "Hey, making sure the central communication pylon is in working order is important," Miles protests. "You still haven't explained how working on it got you so grungy, though," Agenda remarks as she pulls into a parking spot, and Miles uses a hand of conjured axiom thanks to his ring to open the door without touching anything. "Well, we had some equipment in order to repair it, and that started breaking down. The engine on the main lifter had ruptured a valve and it was spraying grease everywhere. I managed to keep most of it off me as I fixed things, but," he shrugs. "Good evening, my dear Duchess and Duke, and my, how interesting with the dirt you've gotten on you. Perchance is it related to the repaired communication pylon?" Vuni asks, walking out of the manor. Her strapless gown outright defies gravity and appears almost pure white, but has shimmering changes in the material to allow tiny patches to glimmer like snow. An enormous sun hat covers her head and she gives him an odd smile. "Well, this won't do at all, will it? Thankfully for you, I have appropriate attire for a man of your standing already laid out as well as a bath, though I'd recommend a quick scrub down and rinse before entering the waters. Come your royalty now. There's a certain expectation of behavior thrust upon you." Vuni insists as she bundles Miles inside without touching him. Thankfully, his socks aren't grime-covered as well as he's let into a two-part bathroom. The shower is indicated for getting the gunk off and the bath for truly cleaning as a proper gentleman. "You're having fun with this," Agenda notes after Vuni closes the door behind Miles. The Vulpir hides her surprise at being snuck up on so effortlessly with a dainty laugh. "Before we do anything else, I have a couple of questions for you." "And what might they be?" Vuni asks, as Agenda rises to her full height and looks down upon her. "You've always had the authority to declare this system one way or another. The paperwork you showed me was absurd but legitimate. So why didn't you declare one of the families, or even yourself, as the lawful ruler of this world before? It would have been simple," Agenda asks. She has her suspicions of the sheer amount of fighting it would cause, but wants it confirmed. And what would that have accomplished? The balance between the families stopped outright war from boiling over, so favoring any one of the three, or even trying to favor all three at once, would have brought about an obscene amount of bloodshed. As for myself, I don't appreciate being a target. I can talk my way in and out of all sorts of entertainment, but it only takes one person deciding that they're sick of my nonsense for all my games to end. Vuni answers before giving out a slight titter of amusement. In truth, I was rather relieved when a sudden off-world party proved themselves the winner. Looking for legitimate means to the power helped even more, and now we're both in position to prosper. "How so?" Agenda prompts, already liking the woman's insight. "Well, simply put, there's a great deal I've wanted to do, but never had the weight to throw around and do it. You can do the throwing for me. In return, I'll arrange it so that what you throw and what you're throwing it at makes you wealthy as well. And I'm not just talking about credit discs. I'm speaking of political clout, favors, even official sanctions and permits to allow you all sorts of liberties and mischief if you fancy such things." "I getcha. You need someone to soak up all the attention while you get things done, which is why you never pushed to be anything other than ambassador, where you could make all sorts of decisions and pawn it off on one side or the other. I see the Dark Cabal didn't recruit idiots. So you know about that? It's why I agreed to this, madam. Your history, that simple fact we can trace you back to that nightmare, means that I can get so much done. Whether we come across as harsh or fair, lenient or controlling, it can all be justified by your past, and for that, we have a wonderful asset. Someone we can pin things on? I'd say a direction we can refocus any anger, but in essence, yes, Vooney says, before gesturing down the hall. Now then, I have some formal attire for you to try on, and we can wait for our husband in the sitting room. Nearly an hour later, a completely refreshed Miles walks somewhat nervously into the main sitting room. While there had been a time that his new outfit would have been fine formal wear in a human court, it was several centuries out of date, as apparently for men around the galaxy, lace was in. Also apparently, Vooney had a theme of stark white in her formal outfits. Am I the bride or groom on this wedding? He mutters to himself, too lowly for either woman to hear him as he adjusts the outfit. He notices both the now white-bedecked agenda and Vooney staring at him with appreciative looks. He needs to do something quick and witty. So how exactly did you get my exact size for underwear? He instantly flubs his attempt at being smooth. Darling, as if I could forget how you brought me into the fold. I remembered every aspect. Vooney purrs at him, and Agenda giggles in her stately white and silver gown. The boa around her shoulders helps enormously to hide just how well muscled her frame is, and the slight tracings of silver thread through her dress make it look like her many scars are in fact affected and artistic, as if she were making a statement. Although on the subject, my dear sister wife, have you availed yourself of a bioscanner? I'm several months away from being fully blessed, but do you have some blessings in the making as well? Agenda asks, mimicking Vooney's more regal and dainty behavior well. I have, and I am. It's wonderful. They've just barely implanted themselves into the wall to begin to grow, but there are 6 distinct little bits within me. I didn't scan any more thoroughly. Not only is it just a shame to ruin the surprise, but rumors have never ceased persisting that deeper scans can hurt a developing child, so I choose not to risk it. Vooney explains. She then pats the small space between her and Agenda on the plush leather couch. Now, come and sit down. We still have some time before our call with your leader. I have a few questions, and no doubt you do as well. Yay, Admiral Cistern certainly shocked everyone with that announcement, Miles remarks as he sits between the two. Which reminds me, how shall he prefer to be addressed? He's held the title of Grand Admiral for quite some time, but you and yours have always referred to him simply as Admiral. Is there some custom I'm unfamiliar with? No, it started as a slip of the tongue that evolved into a ship-wide nickname. When a soldier simply said Admiral, he was prompted to correct himself. His apology included an explanation that calling him Grand Admiral seemed redundant considering who he was addressing. Rumor spread fast and hard, and soon enough he was only referred to as Grand Admiral in formal situations and in official documentation. Miles explains as he remembers actually being on duty not too far away from the silly man and getting a front row seat to the event. Very clever. It turned the slip of the tongue into a compliment that ballooned outwards. Vooney muses before smiling. Now I believe I owe you an answer in turn? Oh, thank you. I do have a question. It's about the Speaker of the Council. Every time there's an announcement of a major political shift or debate, she's in the picture, but it's never made clear exactly what kind of power she has or what she actually does. Miles asks, and Vooney nods sagely. An excellent question, one that I will answer with a touch of extra as well. I'm a generous soul that way. We begin with a note at the culture and biology of the Pavorus. the esteemed race of Our Lady Tycanped, current Speaker of the Council. You see, their greatest advantage lies in their feathers. They can not only turn their longest feathers into impossible cutting edges, but their more downy coats are capable of absorbing absurd blows. Their armor and weapons are instantly visible, leading to an entire race considering their first impression of things to be the most accurate. Now, this leads to why you will often find a Pavorus in the position of Speaker of the Council. It's a very visible role that's offered a great deal of respect. Unfortunately for those that get there, the power of the position is almost entirely ceremonial. The initial greetings and farewells are all presented by the Speaker. They announce the newest changes to galactic law and policy, but the only actual official power they have is a single tiebreaker vote, which only occurs when there's actually a tie, which is not often. Vuni finishes her long explanation, and Miles is deep in thought. So the entire Pavorus race is vain and shallow because their appearance directly ties to their combat prowess. And it's often warriors in a culture that have first claim to the title of nobility. The first nobles, after all, are the warriors strong enough to convince everyone else they are worthy of being obeyed. They continue to chat, consider things and plan until an expected call comes up. With a clap from Vuni, a small panel opens on the far wall and projects the image of Admiral Cistern, who raises an eyebrow as he takes in their appearances. "I see you've acclimatized yourself to your new positions," he notes calmly. "We're going to be in them for a while, sir. Before we begin discussing things in full, my wives have several questions. And I have numerous statements that are likely to answer them all. Should you still have some after I'm done speaking, I'll happily answer them," Admiral Cistern says, and all three of them nod somewhat. "Very good. First off, for the worlds and different static nations and nations joining with the Undaunted, it will be a large-scale protectorate in a manner similar to the Meccan Reach. High-ranking planetary officials will be considered as captains and admirals for the purposes of voting. Furthermore, individuals in positions such as yours, Miles, will be receiving appropriate training to give them a rank equivalent to captain and then the privileges of those voting rights. He will remain under your command, Duchess Lilpaw, but will be your strong right hand in effect. The Undaunted as a whole will be a large mutual defense and development polity with the understanding that we will all profit from cooperation," Admiral Cistern explains, and Vuni looks intrigued. "How much will the Undaunted interfere with the policy of its member states? How much will it tax by, and where will those taxes go?" "Generally, the member states will be allowed to govern as they see fit. The exception is if the laws of these states interfere with the Charter of Rights and Responsibilities. Taxes will be on an individual level with a great deal of leniency shown to those in the process of rebuilding and repairing their own infrastructure. Also, before you ask, while the current governmental officials will be allowed to keep their positions, their heirs must be chosen from those who have completed no less than 5 years' service. This is to install a sense of camaraderie, discipline, and strength, 3 important foundations for the Undaunted. These taxes will be focused on infrastructure and defense first and foremost, with development and outreach being the next considerations." "Interesting. Now what about," Vuni asks as she starts to get into the swing of things.